Away we go. Take it away.
Thank y'all for playing with me. Thank you. Y'all are awesome. All right, so day 2, Ju-no-kata. This is the second set of 3. It's 3 sets of 5. And we'll just crank up. This time, evil bad guy draws back from back here in the next county and turns and swings it through the stratosphere and chops you in the head. So yeah, you're facing sideways. And it's from way back there overhead. Right. And about the time he passes your face, that's his maximum range there. As he starts to pass your face, he starts to lose range. Right? There's one of the first kendo kata. We both have our sword here, and you cut, and then I cut, and it's a little my game again. Okay, we're playing that same game. So he comes over the top. Okay. Catch from underneath and turn to the top. I take 2 or 3 steps this way, Tsugayashi, in order to dump him in the ground. If he's going to avoid being dumped in the ground, he's going to turn to face me and put the hand on my elbow to sort of stabilize, right? Okay. This is another one of those places where you see Uke takes a totally screwed up, stupid looking grip, and it's going to make a little more sense here in a minute. Okay. We're here. He chops from over the top. Now back off 1 or 2 or 3 here. He turns and he places his fingers downward, elbow up, and he pushes me so that I lose my sumi-toshi. I want to follow that motion all the way around to here. Pick it off of my sleeve and continue that motion to here. A little bit of turn. You probably want to move this foot too, because if I'm doing sumi-toshi and you pick up that far foot, I'm going to turn you over. Okay. Right? There you go. So it's a smart resistance there. He pushes that. I would like to be behind the plane of his feet by this point. Thumb and palm. And continue it here. All right?
And then I continue behind him. Thank you.
All right, Yame. This is a stupid way to put it, but it illustrates an interesting point. I've pushed here, he goes finger down, elbow up, right? This position is called Hinari, right? The opposite end of this spectrum is called Hinari, or Geishi. This is Kotegaeshi, this is Kota Hinari. And they go together in this sort of arc, or it's like a French curve. Anybody remember what a French curve is? Yes. Yeah. So he presses on this thing. He's as far into Hinari as he can get. I would like to follow this entire French curve with my whole body. Like so. Okay. Now another thing that's curious about this is if I were going to do Kotegaeshi on him, I'd grab this thing and just jump on it and break it off, right? This doesn't feel like a cool way to do Kotegaeshi on somebody, right? Or he presses and I turn. This feels like a real wimpy, how did it get here? This is a sorry grip for doing Kotegashi. Okay? There are places in our practice where we get an inferior grip because it forces you to move your body correctly. If I get this sorry grip to do Kotegashi and I move just however I like, it tears the connection apart. Right? If I jerk his arm above his head, it tears the connection apart. Right? By getting this wimpy grip, it becomes super obvious whether you do or you don't move your body the right direction. All right. So we're working that French curve all the way from Haneri to Geishi. And instead of clamping down with a grip that you can feel strong about, just stick your fingers in there. And if the thing starts to tear apart, something was wrong a step or two before. All right? So he chops. Next turn, he pushes from Haneri. To Geishi. All right? And that's also part of the reason for this crazy looking karate posture here is I have to conform my joint and my posture such that I don't tear my hand off of his. All right, so I'm not just looking cool. Oh, I'm doing that too. That's a side effect. I got to be something with him. Right. So I'm conforming my movement and my posture to the connection between us. All right. Play that and see how they go.
That's impressive. They worry me, actually. It's like,
All right, y'all name. Even though we are choosing wimpy grip in order to make our practice and our posture and everything better, you can do wimpy to the point of like your own detriment. There's this thing that it's been so long since I was like first day beginner at Judo that I haven't seen this in a while, but if you get your thumbs wrong on that jo, then as you draw it and manipulate it, the leverage of the jo jacks your thumb back and will tear your thumb up over time, repetitive stress injury. Same thing happens here and it happens in Kotegashi. All right, and all of our instructors have talked about this thing. If I make Kotegashi with this daylight between my hand and his, then it's got to be, my thumbs have to be strong enough to bust him, right? So we tell folks that's Kotegashi, right? Same thing if you're doing this as, well, let's just do the thing. We're here, I press, you press, I follow. You don't want that daylight between your hand, because now if anything goes wrong with my movement and I start to clamp down, I start to get that strain on my thumb, right? Go ahead and take a thumb in palm, but a nice no daylight grip, right? It's still a wimpy enough grip that if I screw this thing up, it's going to tear off. But it's not so wimpy that if I mess the thing up, it's going to tear my thumb up. All right. So when I'm talking about, all right, I've pressed 2 or 3 times here, and he presses on me. When I'm talking about thumb and palm grip, I'm not talking about a daylight bridge thing. I'm talking about that cupped sort of hand. It'll still feel wimpy to you, but it won't tear your thumb up.
Are you saying there should be no daylight?
No daylight
Okay.
between your hands. All right, practice that a time or two, and we'll move on to something else.
That right. So anxious about the turn.
That looks good. Yummy! There's an interesting thing to see about this spine lock and the turn out of it. He's playing my own trick from yesterday on me. All right, so 1, 2, 3. Brush this off. 1, 2, 3. I run forward, getting momentum built up to bust it. He takes all the slack out of me. Oh, he put a tension wheel in my back. I don't have any more slack here. Oh, I have slack here. All right. So he takes all this range of motion out of me, and I use this range to fix it. Okay. Play that song. We're managing it good. Here is the next thing. We've come to face each other, and he puts this thing on me. Right? There you go. Brush that off of me. I grab this thing and push on it, and he does his response to Sumiyatoshi, which I will not allow you to do Sumiyatoshi. All right. You remember from yesterday, we said if I yield to this thing, I've lost him, right? But if I yield and maintain some feedback, I can do all sorts of crazy things to him. All right? I am yielding when he starts pressing on me here, but it's a different sort of yielding than you saw when you turned under and grabbed his hand and stepped behind him. Okay? So he chops. Okay, you push on my arm to stop this. There you go. There's some down on my arm, so I'll go down with it. Oh, look where I am. Okay. This is uranage, and I don't have the knees to do this. But if you can do it, it's done from an impossible posture, and you walk under the guy and pick him up. He planks out straight so that he's not flapping all over the place and making it difficult for you. And if you can do it that way and scoop under him, he rests diagonally on the top of your pectoral muscle. So you scoop him and he planks here.
Facing down?
Facing down.
With his head that way.
Yeah. If you cannot do that, then we have gotten to here. Get your feet under, switch to here, and pick him. All right? So if you can get the cool one, then follow that motion. He jumps. Right? From here, scoop under and pick, or switch to here. Pick. All right?
What a nagi brace begins, it just kind of different.
If you can get it, one's under his belt, pressing the pit of his stomach into his lungs. One is here. And his throat there. Play that?
Well, even as doctors,
That was first.
All right. I'm standing in the subway, waiting on the train, and this ne'er-do-well creeps up beside me.
Creepiest guy.
Grabs my hand like so. I don't know.
he wants a day.
Not judging. Not judging this.
We have impolite names that I'm not going to repeat for this attack and for this attack. But anyway, this is the attack. He grabs my hand from the side. I step forward and prepare to tear his arm up here. All right. He steps forward a little bit to turn and face. He No, not turn. There you go. Just turn and face me there. He gets a hand in here and lets go, saying, "Oh no, you're not going to do wakigitami to me." And he presses and turns me and grabs my shoulder. All right, so let's go from there. Ne'er do well grabs me. I start the wakigitami. He goes, "Nope." All right, he grabs my shoulder. Leaving my feet mostly where they are. They might turn a little bit, but I'm staying mostly where I am. I turn and face him and swim between his hands. Lock his elbow under my arm and set a left-sided hip throw. All right. We've all done bazillions of uchikomis of this thing, and probably half a bazillion here. But very few people practice the large hip throws left-sided. All the hip throws in this kata are left-sided. So it sort of balances you out. All right. Evil guy comes to molest me. I intend to lock his arm off. He won't let me. Set the grips, then set your hip. Pick him up. I almost lost him that time. There's this idea that we call the edge. You want to move right up to the edge a million times and look over and see what's down there. If my edge is picking him up to here, and we repeat this thing a million times, just sort of picking him up to here and setting him down, we're never approaching the edge, and you never realize the weirdness that lives at the edge. All right. That time I didn't get my hip far enough across, so if I had peeked over the edge, he would have hit the ground. Right. So in all of our techniques where we're seeking the sweet spot for a hip throw or shoulder throw or something, we're also seeking the edge. Right? You want to move right up to the edge where a little bit of screw up or a little bit less skill on his part or a little less control on my part, and he falls over. All right? So here we go again. Hey, I don't like that. Dig in there. That's pretty close. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, with that, if you get that in, then you can do the next bit 10 better.
Hey!
All right, I mean, one more, and that'll be the end of the second set. You recall, if you were here yesterday, that the very first technique, I'm standing here, he takes 3 normal size sugiyashis. The second one places him right here. The third one is inside my head. All right? So after you do that 5 or 10 times, you've got a pretty good sense of distance, right? And we know how far apart we are, and we know how many steps are between us, and you know what foot's going to be landing when you stab me in the head, right? It's a mind exercise, but it's a kind of a basic one because everything's already known. Now here is a more interesting my game, and I like to do it from a little bit further just so that we got more range. We both pick our swords up, and we tilt together and do this shit. It's stupid, I know, but you can't do it. And if this seam in the mat is our line, we're not running together to smash chests together like this. If this is our line of performance, I'm over here half a step and he's over there half a step. We're running our armpits together. All right? So we tilt. And right when, we were talking about Howard Popkin. He came in here and said, all right, be strong. Don't let me push you. And he leans this way a little bit when I get ready to touch him. He sort of throws himself in, expecting some resistance. All right, we get ready to bang together. Where'd he go? All right. I leave a hand down so that he drops his sword into my hand. And we get here. All right. We would like to illustrate it on this plane just a little bit, so we'll adjust it just for kata, just for exercise purposes. I catch him here and hold for a second. When he begins to straighten up, I slip to his elbow and lean him this way a little bit. All right. When he begins to straighten up, I slip to his wrist and back on. All right. And again, like I said yesterday at the beginning, I think Kano could have probably put this thing in a context that would make more sense immediately, but he's illustrating the same thing. A good illustration of this same principle is shomenate, like we do it in kata. The dude steps in, and I bump him a little bit under this foot. If he loses it over the edge, then he flies off over here. If not, he straightens up, and I hit him right when he's even. All right. If he comes over here, and I bump him, hold him on this foot, and hit him, he might do his twisty thing, or he might just step. Right. There you go. If we get here and he overcorrects, and then I hit him, he just steps away, and nobody's hit the concrete, right? So I would like to put that 90 degrees on him exactly when both feet hit, right? So over tilt him. All right, when this 90 degrees happens, right then, his head in his center gets so far back that he can't stand up, all right? So we've run together. I turn out of the way, hold you here. He straightens up, and I help him overcorrect. When he straightens up, I grab his wrist and back up. All right, this is also a creepy feel. This is a weird thing here. We've got connection here and a little bit of strength between us. This is similar to the little demonstration I did of yielding properly. All right. That wasn't me grabbing him and pushing him over. You don't get the same sort of effect. That was me changing how we're hooked together. All right. If he's pushing on me here, and I can change it. Everything up and down him has to change a little bit. Okay? So that's what we're doing here. We evade and we wind up roughly on this line. I tilt him here, he corrects, and I overcorrect him. Now when he actually corrects this thing, evens up, I change our contact point, and all of a sudden he falls backwards. Okay? So here we go. Just for ease of demonstrating the principle here in the exercise, to keep us in the exercise, try to stay.
You want me to split?
Yeah, when this happens, we wind up on this line. All right. Good. Play that a bit. See how it goes. Pause for a second. Let me show you something really neat about this one. This one is a great illustration that if you use muscular power, you don't get the same effect as if you use center power or changing connection power, right? If we just come out here in the middle of the room here, and he's chopped and I've gotten here, all right? And he raises up and he straightens up, and just to avoid killing him, I'll grab here and I jerk back. You don't get, it's like the control thing I was telling you about earlier. If you put too much on him, you cannot control it, right? So as opposed to we get here, and now when he straightens up, all I do is change the connection and he falls backwards onto me. You can't fake that sort of thing when I jerk on you. All right. So if I get here and twist him twice and do that, his body acts different than if we get here and we get here and then I change the connection. All right. So slip out of the way, tilt, tilt, slide up and slip back. And it should feel like he just jumped backwards onto his head for no reason. All right. So you can use that knowledge to tell when uke is taking a dive for you. Right. So when you're watching a demonstration and I do my magic and he jumps on the ground, jump on the ground.
Yeah.
Right. It looks
That's the easiest technique.
deliberate.
Just use words.
That's voluntary muscles. That's muscles being controlled voluntarily by his brain, right? When we do this thing and he overcompensates and overcompensates, that looks different right there. So you can sort of use that to tell when uke is honest with you and when he's not. All right, play that. Let's circle up and knock off. That was the 5 techniques of the second set. I think what you will see as we progress through this thing is that the kata is sort of organized in progression of the amount of interchange of initiative. Like in the first set, it's fairly straightforward things where uke does something and we might trade who's the boss back and forth once, and then I win. In the second set, you see a little bit more complicated thing like here and then here and then here and then here and then here, and we're trading back and forth who's the boss, who's trying the technique. In the third set, it gets even more prolonged. We're tossing the ball back and forth more in the next set. All right, let's knock off and go find some.
I'm back to round 3.
Three.
3?
3, he said.
Okay.
Thank y'all for playing with me.
Thank you
Y'all
very
are
much.
awesome.